Okay. Crazy, huh? Please be seated. Please stand up. Now, oh, hello. How is everybody? It's good to be back. It's good to be back. I was here, 3 years ago?
3 years ago,
Three
yes.
years ago. I was doing a play at the National, and I love doing this because I love seeing all these fresh, young faces and eager to find out what's going on in the world. And you're living in an environment that's wonderful, that I never had. We'll get into that too. You, all of you, by the first day you started here, you have more formal education than I ever had. But that's okay. It's okay. My journey is different from your journey, is different from the person sitting next to you. But it's great to be here. When Jankai called us and wanted us to come back, we immediately said no. And but then he offered to buy dinner, and so we okay. It's good to be here, and thanks for having us. This is my wife, by the way, sitting in the front row right here. Can I say this? Isn't she hot? I mean, we're as old as your grandparents. Look at her. I should tell that story.
You should.
Can I tell that story?
Please go ahead, yes.
Okay. So Robin and I, she's an actor too, and we met on a TV show that was a terrible show called Airwolf. It was about a helicopter that saves people, and it was silly. But I met her. She had a boyfriend at the time. I had a girlfriend, so there wasn't anything going to happen, but we were able to flirt with each other without oh, hey. So we did. We flirted, and we had a good time, but nothing happened. And then a year later, we were in the same improv comedy class, and we met one day as actors would. We would gather and say, hey, how are you? Good to see you. And you'd kiss each other. Well, we found out that there is a correct duration of a kiss if it's a platonic relationship. And I will indicate this way. This is as long as you can kiss someone on the lips and still be platonic. That's the extent of it. This is what happened that night in class. And then we were like, uh-oh, what was that? What was that? She told me she was going to come to Oxford and study one summer at the British American Academy of Dramatic Arts. And I said, wow, that's exciting. She said, yeah, I want to change things up. I want to keep learning. And so I said, I am actually, and I was traveling, I was hitchhiking. I was planning to hitchhike through Great Britain up into Scotland and just see what's going on, And so I said, can I call you and maybe stop by in Oxford? And she said, yes. So about every 3-4 days, wherever I was, I would go to a phone box and I would take no cell service. This is 1987. Okay, ancient. And I'm dropping coins in the box, and I called her. And we made a date to meet here in Oxford. And this place holds great meaning to us because this was really the city where we really formed a commitment toward each other. And I thought, okay, I'm really gonna show this girl. I really like this girl. I'm gonna show her that I can be debonair and exciting. So I said, I got some sandwiches and a bottle of wine, and I rented a punt. I was going to take her punting on the Thames. What better way? So I go out. Which way was it? It was down here. Was over down this way. If you turn left at it, and it was a beautiful sunny day, and everybody was sitting on the bridge with a pint, and they were having a great time. And I took the punt out, and the guy said, she's sitting in the front, very pretty and just out. And I wanted to impress her, so you want to take it? Oh, sure, I know what to do. Yes, I know what to do. Okay, yep. okay. And I pushed away, and the punch started. It's like, oh. Okay, so what then? And I thought, this is wrong. I know it's wrong, but I don't know the remedy. I'm pulling it out of the muck, and the water is cascading and the mud, and it's all down my arm. And I'm looking at her, and I would do it when she's like looking around, and I'm pulling this out, and I put it on this side. And I push on this side, and now we go this way. And I thought, okay, something's really wrong here. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do, and I'm going to be caught and humiliated very soon. And on the bridge, there was a guy who was trying to be kind, and he knew, for some reason, I don't think it was obvious, but he knew it was obvious that I was American. And he said, "Hey, Yank! Use it as a raw!" And I looked up and I said, "What?" "Use it as a raw!" And I said, "Use it as a raw." I don't know what it means. Use it as a raw. Use it as a rudder. Oh, thank you. So at that point on, I realized push once and just use it as a rudder. But I had all this mud and water on me, but she didn't seem to care. So and here we are. That was 35 years ago.
I mean, I really wonder, in that punting situation, who is the better actor, you or Robin?
Yeah, I never asked you, did you know that I was in trouble? Did you have any idea? Oh, good. I got away with it, yeah. She had stars in her eyes. She thought, oh, I really like this guy. Look how he maneuvers around in a boat. He's nautical.
Fantastic. So good for you to share this story with us. For context, for people who haven't watched Bryan's first visit at the Union, the then president asked the question, as all the president would ask, what got you into acting? And Bryan's answer is very succinct. He said, girls. I know. With that story being told, I think Bryan's being consistent, and I can skip that question safely tonight.
Okay.
But what I wanted to ask is, since you visited us 3 years ago, this is what I wanted to ask, what have you done since? But according to my latest intel, especially given that we hosted Carol Baskin from Tiger King yesterday, I heard you've been offered a role.
Yes. It's funny you should say that. When the pandemic happens, my wife and I both get it in March of 2020. We were very fortunate, but everybody's watching Tiger King, so we did too. We loved it. And then we hear they're going to make a production out of it. And my agency called and said they're interested in you to play Joe Exotic. And I laughed, just as you did. I thought, no, this is a terrible idea. First of all, if you saw it, it was like compelling, and this guy is so crazy. And Carol Baskin, I mean, you had Carol Baskin on a Zoom?
On Zoom last night,
Zoom
yes.
last night. Did you ask her if she killed her husband or not?
She might be watching.
She might be watching this? Carol, did you kill your husband? We all want to know. Don't back out of it, Carol. I can say it because I'm never going to come in contact with Carol Baskin. So, but I thought, no, this is a terrible idea. First of all, it's good. It was great and entertaining, but why do something again? Why be derivative of something that worked well? And then I thought, well, I did a movie a few years ago, to answer your other question. I did a movie called The Upside with Kevin Hart. And it was a very interesting time because Harvey Weinstein was the executive producer of that, and this was his last film before he killed his husband. Okay. He disappeared kind of after all that, but I got some flack for doing that role. And I'm still trying to figure out where is a good place to live as an older white male in this business, because there was some controversy about an able-bodied person taking on a character who is physically challenged. And so what the answer to that is, I don't know, except that more opportunities need to be created for those who are disenfranchised from the world. And hopefully that will come about. But that film was a remake of a French film, which I loved. And I thought, no, I said no initially. And then I thought, well, wait a minute, they're going to do it anyway. Do I want to be a part of doing this English language version of it? And I ultimately decided that the story was too good to let go. And so that's really the crux of it all. I always ask myself, am I compelled by this story? Am I taken away? And it's not dissimilar from all of you who you may read a novel that you cannot wait to get back to. And that's the same thing that I use as a criterion for what projects that I would want to do next. Am I invested in this story? Do I root for these characters? And that's really the indicator for me of what to do next.
Mm-hmm. Well, before I get into my next question, I've got to confess to you all, as I confessed to Bryan earlier at dinner, I've not watched all of Breaking Bad.
Wait a second, hang on. That's not exactly true. He hasn't seen any episode of Breaking Bad. But he did see the mashup 3-minute version of the entire series. You are allowed to boo. Now, you know, and I mean this truly, it's like he was apologetic, and I said, never ever apologize for not watching television. It's just things. You've got other things to do. You're fine. Those of you who have never seen it, that's okay. You're right. That's fine. I don't like you maybe as much as the other people, but...
I mean, since I've not watched it, I'm sure there'll be plenty of opportunity for you guys to ask questions on that. But I would suggest we start with Breaking Bad so we can get this out of the way and done with.
You hate it that much?
No, my first question is, it's a very successful TV series. And the question to you is, what aspect or aspects of it do you think made it that successful?
It's always the writing. It's always the writing. Actors respond to good writing. In fact, some of the hardest work that I've ever had to do is on poorly written material, because you're trying to find the honest moments in that. You're trying to find something that you can connect to the character. And when it's not there, it's so hard to then come up with it on your own. And if you do, but another actor is coming up with something else, and then it's like you're in a different movie than this. It's like, oh my God, it's horrible. And that's the bad things. But when you get a script, and there's a lot of really, really talented writers, Vince Gilligan being one of them, and he wrote this beautiful 1-hour drama that I just fell in love with. It gave you all the guideposts. So from an actor reading it, you go, oh, I see, and then it goes to here. Almost like a trapeze artist, you know, like, and right to here, and then this one comes right now, because it all flowed. It felt natural, and you never felt like, oh, that wouldn't happen. It was extreme, and he had an idea to do something that's never been done in television before. Hello, and that was to change a character in the course of the series. That's never happened. When you think of all the series that you love to watch, that person is that person. And different things occur and they react. They might have learned a few things and they might react a little differently now, but they are who they are. And this was an attempt to try to go from one person to another. As Vince Gilligan fondly recalls, I wanted to go from Mr. Chips to Scarface. And he was my champion to get the role, and he's the reason I got it. Because I had just finished a comedy series called Malcolm in the Middle, and I was a goofy. I was a silly, goofy, frightened little man in underwear again. I have a terrible agent. It's like, put him in underwear, that's fine. So the network and the studio were saying, wait a minute, you want Walter White, that guy from Malcolm in the Middle? It's like, no, don't do that, please don't do that. And Vince Gilligan was my champion. He said, you don't get it. He's an actor, this is what they do. It's not just one thing. And that's the lesson that I learned is to be able to become a moving target if you're in the arts. If you do one thing, don't follow it up necessarily. I mean, if you you hit they're paying you a lot of money and you could really secure a lot of foundational things in your life, yeah. But if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, then that's who you are. And hopefully that you're happy there, because that's where you'll stay in that lane and that's it. But if you don't have to do it, break it up, do something new, do something different. And that is always, I always admire anyone who can voluntarily become a beginner at something. And the older you get, the more you start to compartmentalize your life. This is what I do, this is all what I don't do. I don't do any of this, and this is what I do. And that what I do category gets smaller as you get older. I just do this and just do this. So if you can break out of that and try something new, when the CEO of a major corporation, when she says at 60 years old, I want to learn how to snow ski, and that 16-year-old punk kid with the pimples is my teacher, that's brave, that's great. She has to be the pupil and say, teach me, oh wise one on the slopes. And isn't that great? It's like, let's move in this direction. And so you try to look for those opportunities for me to be in a position to constantly challenge yourself so that number one, I don't get bored, and number two, I don't get redundant or derivative of my own work. You know, one of the worst things that you can hear as an actor is when they say, "Oh, I just saw you in that movie. It was you did it exactly like you did it in that other movie." And I was like, "Oh, no. Shoot, I messed up." But that's life, you know. I mean, yeah, I like to change things up.
Well, let's zoom into your character, Walter White, a little bit more.
What do you know about him?
This is actually not something I said. You previously said something in an interview. You said you based Walter White in some ways on your father.
Yeah.
And how heavily did you base this on your father? And to what extent do you base on the roles that you play on some of the characters in your own life?
All the time. The job of an actor is to create compelling characters. So what do you have? There's four things to me that an actor can pull from. One is talent. And I don't mean that in a conceited way or a facetious way. I mean, listen, if I asked an artist or a musician or anyone in the business world, are you talented? Are you good at what you do? I'd love to hear yes. You're not pounding your chest. You're saying, yes, I am talented. I know what to do, and I have confidence in that. I call it quiet confidence because no one wants to hear anyone boast about what they do. But the truth is, you have to have that. You have to be confident. And if you're not confident walking into a room to sell yourself, it's not going to happen. You have to be able to have that in your back pocket, but quiet confidence. The second thing, as far as an actor is concerned, is personal history. You go open the vault. The older I get, the more personal history I have. You're younger, you use less of that. It's all on a scale. So your talent is on a sliding scale. Your personal history, for me, it's growing because I have more years. So you have to be willing and able to open up the vulnerable chest cavity and say, oh, you want rage? Yeah, I got that. Oh, you want jealousy? You want vindictiveness? You want that? You want that sort of thing? Yeah. You have to be willing to, oh, you want nudity, which fits the character? You have to be willing to be figuratively and literally nude, because there is nothing more vulnerable than a person who's naked emotionally. And this is what I know for sure. If you're in middle school or high school and someone humiliates themselves or embarrasses themselves, they're gonna get laughed at. They're gonna get laughed at. But once you mature, you get into college and you realize there are some fears that I may not be facing on my own, some insecurities that I haven't dealt with. So if you saw that in someone else, you're not gonna laugh. You're gonna feel for them. That's empathy. And you wanna you wanna hug them emotionally. So as an actor, I look for the character's vulnerability. Where's that place in where I can peel apart and climb into that point and bring that vulnerability into me so that I go, there it is. And whatever that means, whatever kind of personal challenge that is, or vulnerability, or embarrassment, or humiliation. Look, I was out in my skivvy underwear out there. I gained a lot of weight because I wanted this character to be pudgy in Breaking Bad. You remember that so well.
That's the episode I saw. I watched that.
Okay. But that's it. So that's the second thing. You have to have that personal experience. You have to be willing to reach down and pull it out and be there. The third thing is your imagination. And the imagination connects those things to it. So let's say that you're young, you're 19, you're 20, whatever, and you don't have a lot of life experience, but you can imagine what a character might do with this, even if it's not the life you had. You've read enough, you know enough, you can imagine what that is. Then that's vitally, vitally important. And the fourth thing is research. You gotta love to study, you gotta love to dig in. That's not a problem for any of you, you're used to that. But you have to be willing to go, I'm so curious, I wanna know more. You're playing a serial killer. Where does that go? Where is that? By the way, hopefully that's not part of your personal experience. So that's those four things: the talent, the vulnerability, the imagination, and the curiosity to dive into and learn as much as you can, and become like a mini expert, a temporary, an ephemeral expert. If I can use that phrase, that sounds terrible, but an ephemeral expert, because as actors, we do that. We plant our tree, and then we pretend that we know what we're really doing. And then when we're done, we lift the tree and wonder where we're gonna go next time. Oh, I'm gonna go over here and be this character. It's really an odd world, but it's been going on forever. And I'm so proud and grateful to be a storyteller, because that's probably your earliest memory. When you were 2 or 102, you're 3 years old, you're dragging the book to your parents' lap, or your aunt or uncle or brother or something. And they're telling you a story as they're turning the pages. So we all want to be told a story. And that's the wonderful thing about the human experience, is that never stops. And so my question is, what is your story? And all you writers or musicians out there or artists, what is your story? I want to know your story. because I've learned a hell of a lot more listening than I have talking. So tonight I'm a talker, but I like to listen. I want to hear your story. I want to see things that teach me about the world and about cultures that I'm not familiar with. And the world does want to know your story. So hopefully you're developing it, you're thinking about it, you're doing it. And the hardest part is doing it. Everyone's got a million ideas. The hardest part is actually doing it. Making mistakes, being bad at something, discovering things. That's it. I wrote a book a few years ago. I got an offer to do a book, and I thought, wow, I've never written a book. I have no idea if I'm any good at it. Okay, it's like, all right, okay, and write a book. And I discovered that I don't know if I'm really good at it, but I discovered I really liked it. I really enjoyed telling a story in that format. And so that's, keep trying doing something, you're not familiar with.
Mm-hmm. Just like me doing this interview.
Reading the Wikipedia page of Breaking Bad, yeah.
I mean, the 4 factors you've mentioned previously would give all the actors, make them become versatile to fit into different roles. But some actors have been defined by the most prominent role that they've played, like Daniel Craig as James Bond, or Daniel Radcliffe as Harry Potter. By the way, neither of them have visited us at the Oxford Union, like you did, so thank you. Do you feel Walter White has constrained your acting career in terms of who you can play?
Not at all. I've met both of those guys, and I know Daniel Craig did his turn, and I think he's extremely grateful that he had an opportunity to play a very iconic role, and I also think he's extremely happy that he's no longer playing it. Because of that same reason, an artist doesn't want to get locked into that person. Same with Daniel Radcliffe. The way to break away from Harry Potter is to not do anything like Harry Potter. And he's done really wonderful work on stage and in the films that he's done. And that's the way to do it. You don't want to repeat what you were good at. I think that's the key.
Mm-hmm. Okay, before I open up to the floor for more questions, I just want to say every year here at the Oxford Union, we make a video to welcome all the freshers that include all the highlights of our recent speakers. And I'm glad to tell you, your previous visit, when you spoke at this very place, got made into the video. And the thing that you said was, please find something that you love to do, because when it gets hard, and it will, that's what sustains you, the love you have for your work. So I just want to end my part of the interview with you to say, what's the hardest moment of your career, and what have you done to overcome that?
I think the hardest moment of my career probably came shortly after we married, I think. You might have a different thought of it. That I wasn't getting opportunities, and I felt like a substitute footballer. Like it's like, oh man, I'm here, but I'm not playing. I'm here. Put me in. I want them to hold up the sign, get my number called and go in. And that's just really frustrating when you don't get an opportunity. And to that end, I would just say, as Robin said, it's just be patient. It'll happen. It'll come when it's supposed to come. And then I went to. We both went to. In the 80s, your grandparents, ask them about this. There was a lot of self-help, self-awareness coming out. The 70s, by the way, when I was a teenager, was all very hedonistic. It was the 60s was the sexual revolution. The 70s was the sexual exploitation. It was nuts. And the 80s was, oh my God, what did we do? We haven't matured. What has happened? I need to figure out who I am. We have to discover more meaning in our lives. So Robin and I would go to a bunch of different people, Marianne Williamson, Leo Buscaglia, and all these people that Dwayne Dwyer, and there's a guy named Brett Costin, another guy. You never know what you're doing. By the way, if any of you get one little thing from any stupid remark I happen to make, I'm so happy. But I don't expect you to, and I know it's like, whatever. I'm just here to chat with you and all that. But I'm not here to try to change your life or any expectation like that. But in the 80s, we went to these people to go, tell me about me. Tell me, how can I improve myself? And actually, there was one guy, this guy named Bryan Cranston, who I had never heard of before, that actually did change my life. And it was a way that I approached life. And I think what I'm about to say, to me, is the most important thing I would have to say tonight. If there's anything that you can find, that you can glean from it, that makes sense to you, I hope it works for you. And that is this. I used to go on an audition to get a job. The casting director, there's a movie, I'm an actor, it's a job interview. You're going there, you perform, and they say yes or no or whatever, and that's it, it's a job interview. Well, as an actor, you go on a lot of job interviews, and it's mostly no. No, 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 maybe, no, 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 yes, no, 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 no. And you have to endure all the no to get to the yes. And it can erode self-confidence and things like that. And by the way, I think this applies to any profession, because at some point, you're going to have to present yourself to other people. You're going to have to do a PowerPoint presentation. You're looking for a job. You're going in to meet people. You need to impress them. You want to look confident and yet not cocky. You want to have that right blend. You want to be respectful. All those things you're thinking of and you're worried about, and you go in with your CV, and it's like, here you go, and next, and you see other people, and it's like, oh man, I remember that guy from school. He was so smart, and she's so much better than I am, and you start to talk to yourself, and it's a problem. It's a problem for everybody. It's kind of magnified when you're an actor because you go on so many of the no's. And Bryan Cranston said it's to be able to realize that nothing is an audition. It is your way of giving to them. And I'm extrapolating from that conversation, and I started to see how it applied to my personal life and my professional life. And I realized what it is that I'm not going into that room to try to get a job. I'm going into that room to do my job. And my job is to interpret the text, come up with a compelling character, something that makes sense to me, that resonates, and present it to them. Once you do that, your job is done, because I'm an actor and I just finished acting, and nothing else has to do with acting. Not calling your agent, not wondering, not worrying, not pacing. That has nothing to do with your job. And it changed everything. And I'll prove it to you in the sense that what it feels like when you want something from someone, when you want or need something from someone else who has the power. They do, because you want or need something from them. You want them to validate you. You want them to praise you. You want them to give you, you want something from them. Your energy is completely different. You have no power. You've given it away. But if you're there to give them something, you retain the power. And I don't mean in a sense like you're patting yourself on the back, like, look how great I am. I'm gonna give you something. I mean it like a present. If you give your friend a scarf because you know they don't have one, and it's getting cold, and you're happy that you gave your friend a scarf for her birthday, or gloves, or whatever, a thing. It feels good because you gave them something that they appreciate. That feeling is the same feeling I'm talking about. You feel better. When you give of your time and energy to a charity that means something to you, how does it make you feel? It makes you feel really damn good that you did something and you're giving. Now, it doesn't mean that, okay, as an actor, I'm going to go ahead and give them my talent. I've worked on it, the vulnerability, the talent, the imagination. I'm giving that to you. Now, don't you have something for me? No, it's not reciprocal. It's one way. You've got to take this in. It's one way. Otherwise, it's not a gift. You give that your girlfriend a scarf, and the next time you see her, you go, "Where's the scarf? How come you're not wearing the scarf?" You put strings attached to it. That's not a gift. You're saying, "No, I gave it to you because I want to see you wear it." No, that's not the way it works. That's not a gift. So it changed my life. I realized, I was getting in my own way with all the little voices saying, "Oh my God, I've been doing the, I got to get this job, and I got the rent to pay, and this guy's so good. Oh, why is he here? He works enough. He doesn't have to be here." On the audition, you're seeing. So instead, when I really took this in and inhabited that, let it come into my body and my being, that I went, I'm not here to try to get anything from these people. I'm here to give them something. And if I may, in a contextual way, it is a gift because I work hard at this and I present it to you. Now, if you don't see it as a gift, then that's okay too, because it's up to you. I don't have strings attached. So from that point on, I was working on a character, and I would go in and I would go, "Here, I did this thing. Maybe you like it. Maybe you don't, but here it is. It's for you. And here, I did my work. See you later." And I would leave. Now, did it enhance the efficacy of booking? No, not really. But what it did is it cleansed me. It cleansed me. It made me feel clean. So I no longer looked at someone else, a colleague who might have gotten the job that I auditioned for as well. I no longer looked at them like, "Man, it was like, oh, good for you. Good. Oh, you got yeah, that was fun. Good. I hope you." I was clean. It was the most amazing thing because it wasn't mine. Because they didn't give it to me. It wasn't their gift to me. It was my gift to them. Whether they chose to use it, it's up to them. So I would go and I would do it. So if you can adapt that into your way of life to present your work, by the way, there is no magic dust. There is no, and it's hard work. Every actor I've ever worked with works hard. You got to work hard to be good. Like Malcolm Gladwell says, 10,000 hours to be proficient or even expert in something? Yeah, he's right. That's what it takes. So just know that it's going to take a lot of work. And so once you've embraced that, okay, it's going to take a lot of work. Adapt this, like, okay, I'm just going to I'm going to give them a gift of my talent and my confidence and again, quiet confidence, and present it to them as a gift. It'll save you. I'm telling you, once that happened, I never worked more in my life, though. It did change on its own, not even because my acting improved, exponentially. No, it was just this attitude that, I'm free of this cloying, binding kind of thing that was actually keeping me back from progressing. It was that. Anyway, that's it. By the way, I'd love it to, can we turn up the heat in this room a little bit? Is it possible? Because I'm freezing in it. No.
Thank you, Bryan. Now I'm going to open up the floor for some questions. If you've got a question, put your hands up. Excellent. Excellent. See a question there. Yes, this member there. If you stand up and wait for the microphone to reach you.
First of all, thanks a lot for coming.
Thank you.
And my question is the following. So you spend a lot of time and energy thinking about a character who had a lot of things in life and he wanted a lot more from it. And in the end, the way I understand Walter White is that that's what caused him to become, to start acting this way. And he started by burning a car and by kicking the people that bully his son, etc. My question is, what's your advice on sort of not to become Walter White, of not wanting and not imagining doing all this stuff?
Well, just don't make bad decisions. When people say, "Oh, no, I don't want to watch that drug show," and I don't want to watch anything that promotes drug abuse and drug manufacturing, it's like, I don't think you understand the show. But I can see why you might think that, because that's like the shiny object. But we know what it is conditional. It's what this man's choices that he made under duress. The character of a person is always revealed by the decisions they make under pressure, right? That's when it really is. If I found a wallet down here and I picked it up and there was money in it, and I saw that, and no one else saw me pick it up, and there was also a name of the person who owns the wallet, I'm returning the wallet. Why? I don't need money. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. But if I was under pressure, if I can't pay my rent, that temptation is ever present. So in good writing, they put the wallet in front of the person who needs it. That's where the emotional, moral dilemma takes place. And that's what he was trying to do, Vince Gilligan, with Breaking Bad. This man receives, he's lost the enthusiasm from his students, and he's lost his own enthusiasm about the joy of science because he's looking into a sea of apathy in his students' eyes, right? So he's lost that. He has to have a second job because the stupid healthcare system in America is so broken that he has to. He's humiliated by his students. He has a special needs son that he needs to get care for. His wife is pregnant. And oh yeah, one more thing. He's gonna die in 2 years because of terminal cancer. So the bait was put on the hook for the audience and thrown out there, and Vince Gilligan is trolling, and everybody's going, "Oh God, yeah, I feel for him." We locked you in. We pulled you in, right? It's like, that's brilliant. That's, give sympathetic elements to anyone, and you have an audience then invest. And that's the key word for me, is that when I take on a character, or when I look at it, can an audience invest in this character? Invest my emotional time and energy in something else and go on this ride with them. And all I knew is that Walter White was going to go from a good guy to a bad guy. I didn't know the route it was going to go, and I'm glad I didn't. It was harrowing, but it was phenomenal storytelling. We were talking the other day, it was like, it's great that it was in series form, because I think Breaking Bad would have made a terrible movie. The truncated story and getting him from good to bad in an hour and a half to 2 hours, it would not be satisfying. So a story needs to be as long as it needs to be, and that's in the eye of the storyteller. How long should it play out? And that's the great thing about whether it's a sketch for 3 minutes, or it's a half an hour comedy, or it's an hour drama, if it's a movie, if it's a limited series, what? So, but did I answer your question?
Somehow, yes.
Somehow I did? Okay. Thanks. Thank you. Who's next? Oh, I guess you can just pass it around to someone.
The member there.
Hi there.
Hello.
Hi.
Mr. Cranston,
Yes, sir.
I don't want to seem too familiar.
If you could choose a Shakespearean character, what would it be? Or tell us why you hate Shakespeare.
Why I hate Shepard?
Shakespeare.
Oh, I hate Shakespeare? I don't know.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if you
I
could
see.
choose
If
a
I
character.
couldn't, then I see. Well, I guess, I missed the boat for Hamlet, but I'm not too, I didn't miss the boat for Lear. And I think that would be good. The thing that I hesitate on pushing that to do my Lear is what I just said, my Lear. It's been done so many times that it's going to be, and I've seen it so many times, and I would not want to, I don't want to do Hopkins Lear, I don't want to do. So you try to, that's too much like his, no. And you almost convince yourself not to do something because, and he did it so well in that part, and I'm going to pull it back and do it. I don't want to be derivative of someone else. And so I kind of want to carve, I don't know, it's something to think about. But I think now that makes the most sense, I guess, now for my age, right? Probably.
Thank you. No, I don't think you would be derivative.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you.
To go the third bench. Yes. Sorry, the lady before you.
Oh, wow, she's already standing up.
The two of you can both ask a question.
Yeah, not you. Boy. She asks the worst question.
Hi, I saw you in Network a couple years ago, and you're fantastic. The character is very complex, so I was wondering what the most challenging aspect of it was, and what lessons do you have that are different in theater versus on the screen?
It's much harder to perform on a regular basis on stage, but it is also more rewarding for me. Other actors may think otherwise, and they wouldn't be wrong for them. There's nothing like having that audience feed you, right? It's kind of like a drug, that sensation. And I truly believe that it is a reciprocal relationship. There's an ebb and flow to it, where we might say something on the stage and we can feel a reaction coming back to us that lets us know, are we telling the story? Are we guiding them toward where we want to take them? And I feel very responsible when I'm on stage to be able to do that, to tell the story, to take them by the hand and say, trust me, I'm going to tell you a story, come with me, and by the time I'm done, I'm going to set you back down, and hopefully you'll feel that it was a useful 2-3 hours, whatever. And that's the goal. And the only way to do that is for a company to keep leaning forward. I tell my company all the time, it's like, we've got to keep leaning forward, leaning forward. We may have done the show 100 times, and the words you can recite backwards if you wanted to, and the tendency might be then to relax. We got it. We can blah, 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 blah. And sometimes, and I've been guilty of it too, you get distracted by something, and you lean back, and all of a sudden, you hear yourself talking. And you're going, oh, this speech, yeah, I think I'm saying this slower than I usually say this. Or Rashida, and you're talking at the same time in the character, but you're commenting on what you're saying. Who's that guy coughing in the third row? He hasn't stopped coughing, and it's like but you're human. So the idea is to go, okay, stop that, and lean back in. And when you do 7-8 months, most I've ever done is 7 months, which I think is a lot, but there have been actors who have done years and years and years, and I just marvel at that. But it's much harder, physically demanding, physically, emotionally, mentally demanding, and the reason is, in the movie and television business, we're in the bits and pieces business. We do bits and pieces every day. Oh, today I'm just driving a car up, and that's it. You're done for the day. Okay, see you later. The next day you might have something else, and you have a little scene or 2 scenes or whatever. In a theater, you beginning, middle, and end every single performance. And if it's a good play, it's emotional, right? It's like, God, that gets you each time. Well, you got to go there every time. You gotta. I like to say, let's punch him in the face. I don't know why. I don't know what it may be too aggressive, but it makes me feel like pushing forward, so that you don't catch yourself leaning back. And it's quite an experience. I love doing it, but I can only do a play once every 3 years or so for that reason. It's exhausting. It's really exhausting. So you have to protect yourself, eat right, sleep as best you can. The days you hear the stories about all these wonderful, glorious actors who go out and they get bombed afterward every night, and I could not imagine living that life. I couldn't function. I couldn't do it. They did well. But anyway, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, the member there, if you, yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
You were saying about how many times as an actor you hear the word no. Every audition, no, 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 and every now and then you get a yes. What led you to want to be an actor in the first place? And what advice would you give to someone who feels like they're never going to get that yes?
That's a good question. Okay, so what I mentioned before about in the arts, there's never going to be a shortage of people in the arts. When you think about it, there's never going to be, we need more actors in the world. There's plenty of actors. There's plenty of writers and directors and people who want to be in the arts, and musicians and painters and dancers. There's never going to be a shortage of that. So what makes some? Well, there are several things. And I mentioned talent before. You have to have talent. You have to have a perseverance. You have to have patience. And there's one more thing that has to happen to have a successful career in the arts. Luck. You have to have luck. I don't know of anyone who's successful in the arts who became that way without it. It's a component that you can't manufacture. You can't will it to come to you. It'll either come to you or it won't. Which is kind of interesting, isn't it? You don't know. All I could say is the no thing was the second hurdle. The first hurdle was what I said before, and it made in that thing, and I'll say it here quickly. I had an epiphany when I was 22 years old. I went to a junior college, a city college, for 2 years. I had no money and no parental support. There was no structure there. I was almost on my own, ostensibly. And I went to this city college, this junior college, to what I thought was going to be the start of a career in law enforcement. I was going to be a police officer because I didn't have a father in my life from the time I was 11 on, really. And so I guess I thought in that young, not yet close to maturity, that it was a manly thing. It was, I think I was looking for a role model without being able to say that consciously. And so I thought, I'll be a police officer. And I had an aptitude for it. I discovered that I was actually pretty good. So I did that. And then it was, it's not exactly what I want to do. So I rode a motorcycle across my country for 2 years, getting odd jobs in different places in the 70s. And I was 19 years old and 20 years old, and I was trying to figure out what to do. And I was reading a play. I was reading Hedda Gabler by the light of this rest stop that I stopped in for the night because it was raining. And I was reading Hedda Gabler, and I finished it, and I was strained like this when I finished it. And what happened? What I did was I missed the transition from day to night. How can that happen? I missed the transition from day to night? Well, sure, if you've got jet lag and you go to bed at 4 p.m. or something, you can, you missed that. But not when you're awake. And I thought, what was this? I thought it was amazing, but I was so into the play, it took me away, that I thought, maybe that's the key. is to find something that I really love and hopefully become good at, as opposed to something I was good at, but I didn't love. So the first thing I would say to you is a career in the arts, you have to have a love affair relationship with it. It can't be any less than a committed relationship. If you say, I'll date it for a year, if I like it or not, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen for you because you've already got one foot out the door. You know what I mean? It's like if this guy doesn't, no. Anything that he or she would do in your own personal lives, if you've got one foot out the door, you've already made up your mind. It's got to be a committed relationship. You've got to be in love with it because it will get hard. Guaranteed. What happens if you're in a committed relationship and it gets hard? Hopefully, we've learned through the pandemic, the good relationships can get stronger. The bad relationships go, I think it's not right. Either one's good because you've saved some time, even if you're broken off something. I think it's good. And you're not with the right person, it's better to know that. But I think, it can be strong. You gotta have that committed relationship. That's the only thing that would sustain. Every person that I've heard who was an actor with a timetable on it, I'll give it 2 years, they're gone. They're gone because of the no. That still happens. It's just you have to protect yourself from that no. It's not a no I'm not asking you for anything. Well, why are you saying no to me? I didn't ask you for something. I gave you something. This is for you. I don't need an answer. It sounds like it could be a little conceited or cocky, but it's not intended that way. It's just you find something, you find a way of working that has managed the test of time, and you apply it. Anyway, hope that helps.
I think we've got time to squeeze in one.
We can squeeze in a couple more. What time is it?
Do 7 minutes past 9.
Let's do 2 more.
2 more questions.
Who's got a really crazy question?
I'll let you pick. Yeah.
Crazy question. There we go. Crazy. Oh, of course. He's got a.
What do you think about the political context of your role as an actor? Take Breaking Bad, for example. What do you think is the responsibility to, for example, say, why isn't America providing health insurance for people with cancer? What do you think about the role of politics in art?
I think it's right. I think it's great. The number one responsibility of someone who makes art is to please yourself, right? It's like the artist who tries to say, I think they're going to appreciate more blue. I'm going to put more blue in this, as opposed to what do I feel? What do I feel? So, in answer to your question, I was very proud to be involved in something that held a mirror up to the American landscape, socio-political structure, and it also illuminated the lack of compensation for the teachers. And why would a teacher have to have a second job? It's absurd. The responsibility that a teacher has, number one, and the full-time nature of that, and the emotional input that teacher has to, oh my God, are you kidding me? So I don't know if it helped at all, but perhaps, in our small way, we said, does this seem right that he has to do this? And does this seem right that health care won't necessarily cover his illness? And you can't hold a measuring stick to the success of a piece of entertainment up to whether it had any lasting effect on that. It's basically, it's still a piece of entertainment, but hopefully it plants a seed in some people who may have thought otherwise. We don't know. You hope. Well, thanks. God, who's going to go? You ask. I'm not going to ask. Young lady. Well, you're all young ladies. Sure. Go ahead. Are you? Oh, is that a young lady? Could be. Go ahead.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm from Charwell, the student newspaper, and you were talking about how relationships and relationships with art over the pandemic has changed. So I was wondering what the projects have been like that you filmed over the past year during the pandemic and how they've been different.
I think you're going to see a lot of change. Those who are not addressing the pandemic in their art, whatever art form they exercise, they're missing it. I was doing a series called Your Honor down in New Orleans, Louisiana, at the time that we got closed down, and had a 7-month layoff, and then came back and finished it. And we used the pandemic in the course of the last episode and a half of the series. It was a courtroom drama, and we chose to use it that way. I think generally what you're going to see are more hopeful fare. I think you're going to see. I said that, and the first thing I thought was Squid Games. So hopeful. Everything's going to be hopeful. You're still gonna, you're still gonna have horror films, and you're still gonna have all that kind of thing. But I think you might see more socially beneficial and hopeful storylines. I hope so, because I think it's what we can use right now. I think we need a sense of fun again. And that shared experience of being in a movie theater or a stage show. And I think it's going to be not just helpful to them as a distraction, but also to their soul. That you start to feel like you're healing and we're coming out of it. And I mean, we still have some issues to deal with as a race, as a human race, and we've got to face it. But I'm hopeful. I hope that there are more happy ending stories. We'll see. But thank you very much. I appreciate being here. And I wish you all the best of luck.